Hello, everyone. I'm Richard Fredrickson, and we have finally found the busiest man in Joliet, Will County, in the Chicagoland area, Scott Slocum, content director of Alpha Media's WJOL. That is a mouthful, and I just had this epiphanous moment as I was saying that.
What's that?
I know we were set up to do an interview here.
Yeah, we're in our conference room.
Yeah, but I think, because I think they've got you involved in there somewhere, we should probably do it at downtown Joliet and go to the Hall of Fame and to the Illinois Rock and Roll Museum. Not quite open yet, but you're going to see parts of it, particularly their performance stage. Before we do that, though, in this interview, I wanted to make sure, because last time I interviewed you, I think I was either on JOL or Channel 6, which was years ago, by the way.
Yeah, it's been a long time.
You were a young man.
Long time.
You know.
How was he young?
I was the same age, but he was a younger man. How's the family back there in Shanahan?
They are. They're home for the summer. It's great. My son and my daughter are home from college, and Rox and I are having a great time. My son's soon to be senior at University of Wisconsin at Platteville, studying electrical engineering, and plays on the men's soccer team and loves it. Lives in a house with 5 other guys and having a blast. Mom and dad like going up there and hanging out with him. I'm not so sure he does, but his friends at least smile while we're there. Platteville's a great place, a quintessential college town. It really is nice. And my daughter goes to St. Louis University. She'll be a sophomore. She's going to be a teacher, and a beautiful campus, one of the nicest campuses I've ever been on. It's absolutely gorgeous. They're both working this summer, making some money, having fun seeing their friends, and life is good.
Yeah, life is good. We're going to do that interview, this whole interview, by the way, down at the museum, and you'll catch that interview in a couple of minutes, actually. Before we do that, however, I want you to give a little promo out on something that you have been doing for years, and he's all dressed up to do it today, right after we do the taping for the interview at the Rock and Roll Museum. Scott Slocum, Coach Scott Slocum.
That's right. Yeah, I'm headed down to Shanahan. I teach basketball clinics for little kids. Today I have 1st through 3rd graders and 4th through 6th graders. It's a blast. I love it. I played, of course, and we'll talk more about that later. I'm sure I played, and I love coaching. I love the little ones when they come in. They're like this big, and then you see them eventually play if they're good enough in high school, and some of them even in college. It is a true passion of mine, getting a chance to hang out with the little ones.
Okay, Scott, let's go.
Let's do it.
We'll get downtown. We'll see you later. Hello, everyone. I'm Richard Fredrickson. This is the Channel 6 special, and the young man who I'm going to be talking to here for the next 2 or 3 hours is known as Scott Slocum. He is the content director of WJOL Radio. Back when I knew him, he was program director, but now he's program director, content director, and a lot of other hats that he wears at that radio station. You may have heard him here on 1340 AM or WJOL.com or Odyssey. Some of you folks are watching on YouTube right now from your balcony in Naples, Florida. We welcome you as well. Or you may be hometown people watching us on YouTube from Peoria, Illinois. Peoria, Illinois. That brings me to Peoria, Illinois. Tell us a bit about yourself back in Peoria.
Well, East Peoria, actually.
Okay.
We take offense.
Okay.
It'd be like saying people from Crest Hill, you're from Joliet. Does that make sense?
No.
Okay. Well, Theodore Street breaks up Crest Hill and Joliet.
That's Edison in Chicago.
The Illinois River breaks up Peoria and East Peoria. I've always told the people in East Peoria, change the name of your town, because East Peoria's got a ton to offer. It's got the Festival of Lights, the largest lighted parade in the Midwest, I think even the country, as a matter of fact, and it won a big award from ABC Television last year. I always tell them, change your name, that way you'll get some more recognition. But no, it's East Peoria. I was born and raised there, went to East Peoria Community High School, and my family, most all of it still lives within the city limits of East Peoria.
So, as they're watching this, be careful on your answers now.
Okay.
What kind of a kid were you in high school, and then, did you play any sports? Because I know that you're a sports jock.
I did.
I know that is what really the priority of your life is sports. And then the other stuff comes along.
Yeah, I did. I played basketball. Ever since I was a little kid, I played baseball, and we'd play on travel baseball teams when, back in the day, you played maybe 15 or 20 games, we would play 70 for Leroy Schmidt. We traveled all over the place. Then I played high school basketball and had some success, and I went on to play in college at North Central College up in Naperville. So sports, very much a huge part of my life. I've coached it my entire life, played it since I was 5, and still coach it to this day.
I know you coach to this day. If you go to the original Burger King in Naperville, I think they still have the name up there on the wall.
I wasn't far. We made a lot of late night runs to the King.
Yeah. So broadcasting, where did that come from? If you're an athlete and playing those sports, one would think, that you want to get into professional sports. But you took the bent toward broadcasting. How did that come about?
Well, I was 6'1", about 175 pounds. That's where the professional sports thing went. But no, I wanted to be around everything that had been around my entire life. I mean, if it wasn't an organized sport, it was in my backyard. I had a really big backyard. I had golf holes installed. I had a basketball hoop put up. I had a pitching mound that we used to pitch off of. So that's all I've really ever done. So the next best thing to doing all of that was eventually broadcasting it, and I got turned on by when cable came to Peoria for the first time ever. It was in the mid-'70s. I was just, a 10-year-old, I remember, and we saw a Cubs game in the afternoon when I came home and I heard Jack Brickhouse. And Jack Brickhouse, I just couldn't stop listening to him. He was fantastic. And Peoria area, East Peoria area, is a big Caterpillar area. So back in the day, my house was located right next door to what we call the Caterpillar house. So every 2 or 3 years, a new cat family would move in. One from Germany, one from Sweden. And then when I was 9 or 10, a family moved in from Japan. And technologically speaking, they were superior to us. And Yuki and Aki were their first names. And Osaki, I believe, was their last name. Well, I was nice to the mom and dad. I was nice to the kids. I'd play with them when no one else really knew them. So they rewarded me by giving me a tape recorder, cassette recorder. And so I would take that cassette. Well, what am I going to do with this? So they gave me some cassettes, and I would go watch the Cubs games, and I would turn down the TV, and I would start to do play-by-play like Brickhouse. So that's when I started to do it. And then I just kept doing it. I remember in high school basketball, the sophomore games would be before the varsity games. And I would sit there, and the varsity players would be sitting way up top out of the way. And I'd jokingly do play-by-play. And all the guys on the team would be like, man, that's pretty good. You're pretty good at that. You should do that for a living. So it just kind of stuck with me, and that's what I always wanted to do after being introduced to it at a young age.
So your first radio job is where?
It was in college at WONC, which is in Naperville, a great radio station. One of the best college radio stations in America, and still is to this day. I worked a summer at CBS Television, WMBD in Peoria, Illinois. And then 1988, I interviewed for a 6-hour-a-day, $10,000 a year job at a radio station called WJOL right across the street from Silver Cross Hospital. I got the job, started August 23rd, and did sports obviously there for the first 12 years, and have been doing everything else for the last 21.
For memory's sake of a few folks out there who are watching, what year was that you began with WJOL?
88.
1988. Can you recall a few of the folks who were on staff at that time?
Don Lattis. Were you still there?
Yeah.
You were still there? You were still, okay. Ed Morris, our engineer. Larry Watts. You remember Larry?
Yeah.
Jim Murphy. Tom Capsalis on the FM on the flame-throwing iRock radio station. See, I'm going to lose my times here. Joe Passion was the one who actually hired me. He was the sports director.
Really?
And then got let go about 6 months after I started, and then it became mine.
Go back to your intrigue with Jack Brickhouse. Was that the catalyst that, I mean, you're in St. Louis Cardinals territory, whether you're east or the city.
Right.
St. Louis, but you became a Cub fan?
Yeah, you're about it's about 49, 49, and then 2 for White Sox fans. There are a lot of White Sox fans down there, but it's Cubs Cardinals. It's hatred. That makes the Cubs White Sox hatred of each other look small time. It's Cubs Cardinals, man. It's an entire state, and it was intense. You can't like both of them. Like I know a lot of people, including myself, like the Cubs and White Sox, but down there it's one or the other. And the reason the Cubs have grown so much down there is because of Channel 9. Once cable came, we got to watch them every single day. That's why the Braves were so popular for a few years when TBS was nationwide, when it was the superstation. When GN became a superstation, Cubdom took off, including for those of us just 2.5 hours south.
Interesting question, because your family's still down there, and obviously was there when there was another announcer who took Jack Brickhouse's place. What was his name?
That would be Harry Carey, who actually started working in radio at WJOL when it was maybe you know I don't. I have a soundbite somewhere where Harry says, I got my start at
the name of the store.
Was it CLS? Yeah, Will County's largest store, WCLS, I believe, yeah.
So what was the reaction of fans in St. Louis about him going to the Cubs?
It wasn't good. It was a traitor.
Yeah.
It was a traitor. Harry bounced around a little bit. A lot of rumors on why he bounced around, but we won't go into
That's
those.
for another show, another day.
Show.
Well, let's just go back a bit and touch a bit on your family. You're born and raised in East Peoria. Mom, dad, siblings?
Yeah, I have a stepdad. My biological father passed away when I was 21. My stepdad's been in my life since I was about 7 or 8. And my mom, obviously, they're still alive. They're doing well. They just moved into an assisted living facility down in East Peoria. I have 3 older sisters. Lori, who lives in Shakopee, Minnesota, and my 2 other sisters live and own businesses in Central Illinois. So, yeah.
What's it like growing up with 3 sisters?
It was awesome. No, it wasn't. Well, they call me still the baby, but they beat me up a little bit because I was the only boy. I got special treatment. I was an athlete, so I got more attention than they did, and they beat me up a little bit. Their favorite game was get a sleeping bag out. I would crawl in first. They said they would crawl in after me, but they wouldn't. I would crawl in, and then they would take the sleeping bag and wrap it up with a rope and drag me up and down the steps.
That's great.
Oh, I got a lot of damage to my head, if you will.
Oh, God. You've been around long enough to be able to answer this question. This is 2021. In the last few decades, what have been, and since you're not only, Scott's on the air every morning on WJOL radio, ungodly hour, what is it, 5:30?
Yeah.
To 9, and then a lot of programs after that, and administrative stuff after that. But what have been some of the biggest changes in radio that you have lived through up to this very moment?
The internet. That's it. The internet has changed how I do my job. That's why we used to be called program directors, now we're content directors. The internet has changed everything. There used to be a day where all we had to worry about were promos, commercials, on-air interviews. That is half of it now. As a matter of fact, my company, Alpha Media, has an edict called 5149, though it should be more 50-50, and maybe 48-52, and that is the time you spend worried about on-air, the time you spend worried about online. Because the internet has made us a permanent thing. When I would say something, and when I still say something on the air, it's gone. I mean, we do podcasts and things like that, but it's gone. And if you miss it, you miss it. But with the internet, we put it online, and it's on there forever. It has changed radio forever. Those radio stations who didn't get on the bus early are still lagging behind. We did, thanks to some good ownership groups that we had. We've been doing this for a long time. Newspapers still don't understand how to do it, which I don't understand why they don't understand to do it. No offense to newspapers, locally and around the area, they don't get the immediacy that they can have with the internet. We do. Maybe because we were live on the air and we understand immediacy, but they still don't. I look at some of the newspapers' websites around the country, I'm like, you still don't get it. They still don't. So we got it, we get it. And what's changed too since the internet first started, it used to be worried about the website, now it's social media. Now we just put up a video of a python crossing Theodore Street, and hundreds of thousands of people went to our Facebook page and WJOL.com to watch the video. It's a video of a snake, and it's in a strange place, and it's big. And it's still there, by the way. If you want to give us some more clicks, you're more than welcome to do so. But it's changed how we do everything. Everything we do now is on 1340 WJOL and WJOL.com.
Because when we're on vacation, we listen to WJOL.com,
Sure.
whether it's Naples or whether it's down in wherever. I'm on vacation, we're tuning into JOL.com. The on-air package is, both social media and 1340, but there's another aspect to it that I know you're involved with, and that's the sales packages are different today than they were certainly back when I was selling radio. The Diane DeVries of the world.
Diane DeVries, yeah, she's awesome. We have some great staff that work for us. But I've kind of drifted away from that just a little bit because it's so intense. So we not only sell airtime now, but we also sell internet time. And we sell advertising for other companies as well. I mean, Jiffy Lube, namely, is one of them. And we do a lot of work with them, not just here locally, but nationally as well. And we sell ads in YouTube now. I mean, it is gone off the deep end, but it's great. It gives a chance, more revenue for our company, keeps us on the air, keeps people employed. So yeah, it used to be, hey, you want to buy a 60 or a 30 or a 15, and then went, hey, you want a banner ad on the website? But now there's so many more options. Right before my podcast, you'll hear a commercial play. Those are sold as well. So it is many different opportunities for our salespeople.
Not naming anyone with Alpha Media right now, but through the years, have you had a favorite radio personality, who that person is and why?
Favorite radio, who's the gold standard? I didn't grow up here in Chicagoland, so I can't say Larry Lujak, or even beyond that. I guess what Dick Biondi was huge, and the guys that were on GN over the years, Wally and Bob Collins. I didn't listen to them. I wasn't from around here, so gosh, I'm trying to think. The gold standard radio guy here. Rush. I'm not saying I agree with everything he said, but he was the gold standard. I mean, what he took, and he's the Oprah radio. Oprah did a small talk show and then made it bigger and then turned it into an international conglomerate. He did the same thing. Locally, I don't know. I mean, I've been on for 30 years now in the morning. I know Steve and Gary did a really good job back in the day. I thought when Roe and Gary were together, I think that was that on LS?
Yeah.
I think it was, because I didn't work in the afternoons. I thought they were really good together. Apart from each other, it didn't work for me, but I thought those two guys, from a radio, insider radio, I thought they presented, they teased well, they connected with their audience. I thought they were really good, but I got to tell you, I love being out here in the suburbs and competing against Chicago radio, and this is no disrespect to them, but I think we offer a product pretty similar to what they're putting out at a fraction of the budget. I think Chicago radio has changed so much. I go to other markets and I hear, whether it's New York or even St. Louis. I was in Indianapolis a couple of months ago listening to their morning shows. They were smoking. They were good. They were imaged well. They were fast-paced, and I just don't think we get a lot of that here in Chicago, at least on the AM dial.
No, we do not. Here's an easy one for you.
Okay.
Favorite sports announcer?
Favorites would have been Jack Brickhouse. He was the guy. He was fantastic. Harry was entertaining. He connected with his fans too. He built the Cubs into what they are today.
You mentioned this earlier about when you began your career with WJOL, and I can't believe it was 30 years ago. That location,
Yeah.
that was really quite a location on the east side of Joliet and across from Silver Cross Hospital.
Yeah.
And one of the guys who worked at that time for you was Frank O'Leary.
Frank O'Leary, yep.
And by the way, I wasn't there during that time.
I didn't think you were, yeah.
I was before that.
We have a fly in here, by the way. That's why we keep doing this. So.
Yeah, the show
Not a nervous tick.
The show is being bugged, so we're very cognizant of that. Through the years, with the digitized radio, Facebook, the website, and social media, are you more recognized now? Because radio, people don't know who the heck you are.
Sure.
They know your voice and
Sure.
that's it. Although you do make a lot of MCs and you've done a lot of outreach in the community. Does it make you more of of a personality. More people know you.
It did.
Yeah, I recognize
It's
you.
lowered our demos. I mean, our demos mean our age, the ages of people that are tuning into the radio station. It's really lowered that a lot because when you're talking about heritage radio station like WJOL, you're talking, probably 55 plus on paper, but that has all changed now with the internet. Again, go back to the Python thing. We've had 18-year-olds comment, 19-year-olds comment. And what's great about that is it exposes them to us. Now, will they tune in on their way to work or school? Maybe not, but they know where we exist now.
Right.
So absolutely, me personally as well, yeah, it's made a big difference in terms of the recognition you get and the impact you have. So yeah, it's changed a lot.
WJOL.com is also so important because during storms and static and at night, you can hear the station.
That's right. Absolutely.
Makes a big difference.
We have a service that tells us where people are listening to us online. And you look at a map of the United States and it's all over. And obviously it's centrally located here, but we have listeners in Florida, as you mentioned. There's a lot of snowbirds down in the Naples area and Fort Myers. I call that Joliet South. And you walk on the beach for 30 seconds and you run into a Joliet person. But Virginia, Colorado, California, Arizona, we have a lot of people listening. So yeah, it's been amazing. I mean, all you need to do in your kitchen in the morning, even here, is say, Alexa, play WJO radio, and there it is right there.
This is from Arizona during the months of
Yes, it
December,
does.
January, February, and March. You're the morning man now, but prior to you becoming the morning man, there were a few others that preceded you. Bill Drilling being one.
Yep.
There for
William Christopher Drill.
Yeah, William Christopher. And I just saw him a couple of months ago, looking good, looking fine. There were others, and
Tony Ray, of course, is my guy.
Tony, yes.
And that's, when you were asking me about people before, I figured you didn't bring up Tony. Tony and I were really tight. We were, as Tony always said, brothers from another mother.
Yeah.
Tony was a good man, and he guided me through my early years. I left JOL for 2 weeks back in 2000 and came back. I didn't really officially leave it, but was going to. And Tony was a big reason why I'm still here, because he left. If Tony didn't leave in 2000, I would not be here today. I would have been on to Chicago, where I was working part-time for WBBM for about 4 years. So when Tony left, I went to gospel over in Indiana. That opened up the morning show, and I decided to stay. So he's had a big impact on my life. And we did a lot together, Tony and I did. Went to Indianapolis, went to Cleveland. We hung out at night. I would take him to my favorite places. He would take me to his favorite places, which are on two different sides of town, of course. And I met so many wonderful members of the gospel community because of Tony, and I introduced him to a lot of people that didn't know him either.
Yeah. His brother had one of the largest evangelical churches in, I think, Florida.
Yeah, Palm Beach.
Yeah.
And Tony came from great parents, too.
Oh, yeah. Good people, wonderful people. Let's go from Tony Ray to some of the memorable guests, because the kind of show you have is filled throughout the week with guests, whether they're talking about their carnival or their auction or whatever it may be. Now, this is a program that cannot go on forever, so he has a long list. So just give me 2 or 3 of the memorable guests.
When Barack Obama was coming for a fundraiser at the Bolingbrook Golf Club, he was talking to us, and he held up the fundraiser for about 10 minutes because he was being interviewed by me from the back of his limo. Rod Blagojevich, I love the story about Rod. When he was governor, he used to call in once a month. It was a deal. Scott, I'll do whatever you want. I'll call you. So once a month we'd have him on. And one day we were doing a fundraiser, and I said, "Hey, Gov, how about helping out the cause just a little bit?" And he goes, "I'll give you $100." 2 days later, I had a check from Rod Blagojevich for $100 signed by Patty Blagojevich. So I don't know where that check is now. I made a copy of it, so it's in my desk, but the real check, I'm sure, made it through the financial system. But he gave us a check, and then when you watched everything happen to him, go to prison and then get out of prison, I laughed at that moment. A lot of sports stars, a lot of big-name celebrities. I did a lot in Chicago, so I was covering for JOL and for Chicago stations when the Bulls were really good.
Oh.
I would cover and go see Michael Jordan and interview those guys, the Cubs, Ryan Sandberg, and be in the locker room after the game. That was fun, but it got old after a while. It got to be kind of, okay, just routine. So that was cool, but probably one of the neatest things I ever did was we've traveled the world. We were lucky enough to take trips with WJO listeners. We've been to, I don't know, 15, 16 European countries, Alaska. We've been all over. Very, very fortunate. But one of the coolest things I've ever done was I went with Mary Jaworski and Russ Linkard to Washington, D.C. We would go to D.C. to politic, just like they do in Springfield. So we went to Washington, D.C., and someone who was a babysitter of Mary Jaworski's daughter, I believe, was the head of communications, not somebody you see stand in front of the media every day, but written communications. So she got us into the White House. So at 10 o'clock on a Tuesday night, we go walking into the White House. We get into the West. We couldn't walk, sit down behind the desk, but we got, our toes into the room, went to the cabinet room. So we got in there at 10:30 on a Tuesday night when no one else was in the West Wing. That was really cool. And the next day it was President Bush at the time. We saw him a couple of times aboard, board Marine One. So that was really neat to be able to do those things. And then to broadcast from D.C., when Congresswoman Biggert would come in. And that was fun for me because I was a political junkie. I'm kind of turned off on it now because just the attitudes of those on both sides of the aisle in Washington, D.C. have really soured me. But, being inside that Iron Curtain on a Tuesday night, standing in that room where so much has, transpired over the years and so many lives have been affected by that room, that was pretty cool.
Well, speaking of elected officials, I'm actually speaking to one right now.
Yes, you are. Yeah, absolutely.
And how in the world did you make that decision, and when did that happen?
2007, Shanahan Village Board. There was a resignation. Somebody had to leave for a job, so I got on for 6 months and wasn't going to run. Had several people tell me they wanted to run, so I tried to write in, which is next to impossible. I lost by, I think, 25 write-in votes, and dating back to my days as a jock, I don't like to lose. So next time I'm going to run. So I ran in, I want to say 8, or I think it was 6, and I ran in 7, and I won, and I've been on ever since. And it's a difficult thing to juggle. I don't talk about Shanahan politics on the air. I would never promote myself as a candidate. I respectfully asked, anyone that I'm running against, I give them my assurance that I will not ever say anything. I won't use my platform to push myself as an elected official or for any elected position. That would obviously have to stop if I wanted to go any higher, but I have no aspirations of going any higher at all, even though I've been asked a few times to run for other offices. I love where I'm at. I love Shanahan. It's an incredible place. We have a lot of great villages and cities in Will County, but Shanahan is my favorite by far. And it's where I raised my family, and it's where I'll always live. And I like helping because local government is where you can have the most impact on the residents, not in D.C. and not in Springfield.
One of the first famous places that I was taken to by Mr. Don Lattis.
Let me guess, Red-Offs?
Yes.
There we go. I knew that was it. Yeah.
Absolutely, yes. We've been talking with Scott Slocum. We could go on forever, and I wish we could. He has a Zoom meeting coming up here in a little bit. You folks watching on YouTube, thank you for taking time out. Tell your friends and neighbors and second cousins that we're on, and have them check in with this interview. Scott is on Monday through Friday, WJOL 1340 on the AM dial. From 5:30 till 9, and then there's some other programs that he does with the station and a bunch of other stuff that he's involved in. Auctions, emceeings, and all kinds of things that we've done through the years, which we thank you for.
Sure.
And we thank you for watching. Scott, thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Good seeing you, Richard.
Good to see you. Good to see you. Take care.